I'm working on Module 4 Pivot Table assignment. The problem data is listed on page 186 of your text. If you're new to Excel, you can also refer to Appendix C in Excel Quick for a discussion of pivot tables. I have created a worksheet called Original Data in a new Excel workbook, which I named Employee Demo. This worksheet is exactly the same as the information listed on page 186 of your text. Make sure you do the same and check that your input data is exactly the same as provided in the text. Particularly important is the header row, which includes employee number, name, department, gender, salary, and bonus. That's because Excel creates pivot table fields according to this header row. To create a pivot table in any Excel versions, you should be able to select the pivot table function from the data menu in the Excel top ribbon. If you have newer versions of Excel, such as Excel 2011, you should be able to insert pivot table from the Insert tab here. Select the Insert tab, click the Pivot Table button, and if you have well laid out data in your worksheet, Excel would automatically select all the data in your worksheet. Check to see if the selected data is in fact what you want to include in your pivot table. Choose to include your pivot table in a new worksheet. Select OK. The field names are the header row titles that you created in your original worksheet. In the Pivot Table Builder, you need to tell Excel what to include and how you want to summarize the data. Now for Excel 2003, you would actually have to drag and drop these field names into the actual pivot table. However, for any later Excel versions, we select field names and drag and drop within these 4 areas. And the corresponding pivot table will show up here in the worksheet. Okay, here we go. Let's build a pivot table to summarize total salaries by gender. So since we want to show salaries by gender, it makes sense to select only gender and salaries. So go ahead, select gender, and select salaries. It looks like Excel decides to place both gender and salaries in the values area. And by looking at the resulting pivot table, that is not what we want. But we can change how the data is organized by dragging and dropping these values within these 4 areas. Let's move gender to the column. And this results in a well-organized table showing the distribution of salaries between female and male. Or we can move gender to the row section and it equally creates a well-organized chart. Let's format the numbers in the value section of our pivot table. Highlight the cell you want to format, right-click or control-click for a Mac, select Format Cells, and choose your desired formatting options. Click OK. When you're done formatting all the value cells, rename the worksheet to Pivot 1 and move it to the end of the workbook. Save your workbook and move on to the next pivot table.